Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Kachi once again. If you're new here, please kindly subscribe. Today I will show you guys how to make use of the getDate method in JavaScript to get today's date. Let's say for instance you have a blog that you're running and you want to show the current date and on that blog, maybe probably on the front page or something. So you need to know how to use the getDate method to go about it. So let's go straight into it. As you can see, I'm currently in VS Code. And I have my text.txt where I've created a variable of the week day names. Actually, we don't need this. I can clear it out. And we also have the week. I created a variable called month names, which is an array of the various months we have in a year, from January, February, March to December. So we'll be using this and also some HTML, CSS and JavaScript to get the current date and time we are in right now. Okay, the time I'm currently recording this, that's what you get. So you can use it on your JavaScript or something and see the current date. And so let's go straight to it. So what you first need to do is to get your HTML ready. So we have index.html. To create your HTML, next thing you need to do is to create your CSS, index.css, and then your JavaScript, which is index.js JavaScript. So with this you can actually do exclamation sign and enter to get a boilerplate of code that gives you the layout of your web page. And I'll change this title here to date, because we are creating a date. So what I want to do now is to get let's say to create the layout of our HTML. This is just get the HTML sorted out, get the layout for that. So we have the body tag. In the body tag we have a div. Create a div with the class of container. The class is to help us to point to that div and style it using CSS. And let me do this properly. From the div now we have an h1, which gets h1 is like our title, like the header or the heading, the number one heading, which will be, I will name it today's date. And let me see today's date, and because we'll be getting today's date and time means time, because we'll be getting both the date, the month, the day, the month, the year, the second, the minute, and the hour. So we're doing all that, we're getting all that using the getDate method available in JavaScript. So the next thing we have is our div. And this div is where we will have this div is going to have a class of element, date element. So this div is where we'll be imputing the date and the time in this div, but we'll be doing that using JavaScript. We won't be hard coding it on our HTML. We use JavaScript to impute it. So because it's dynamic, it's not something that keeps on changing. It's not a constant, it's changed. So you have to use JavaScript to get it, so that JavaScript will keep on updating the current date and the current time as you load your HTML page. So now let's go into our .css. Okay, let's link. We haven't linked our CSS. Let's link our CSS. Let's link our CSS. Yeah, link rel style sheet. And we'll be linking to index.css, and let's also link our JavaScript. Since we have two body tag here, I'll remove one, and instead I'll put our script with a source of index.js. So I think we're done. We have linked our JavaScript file, we have linked our CSS file. So let's go to our CSS and style it. So I'll pick the body. The body is the whole content of the HTML page. So take the body tag. I'll give it a background of, I give this a background of EAE BFD. So it's more like a light blue color, a light blue background, yeah, and a font family of Franklin Gothic. Yep, and give it a display of grid and grid column, the template column of 8. Place content. Place our content center so that it sits at the center of the HTML page. Margin, top and bottom will be 10%, while our left and right will be auto, so it's also centralized. I don't know why I'm doing this, but let me just do it because I think the place content center already puts it at the center. So font size of the whole document, font size will be 30 pixel. Yep, and that's for it. So we now style our dot container. Our dot container is this div here. It has a class of container, so we'll style it. So we call it by using dot container, and we'll give it a display of flex, and flex direction will be column, so that it sits under each item. Each item sits under the previous ones like a column and not side by side. If it's a row, justify content center and align items center. I want everything to be centralized. Then grid column 1/9. I don't know the impact of this, but let's just do it. Let's just do it. The next thing we'll be styling is our dot date element. Now I know you can't see the content of the dot date, it's like empty now, but we'll be having content in it, which we'll be imputing through JavaScript. So let's just style it. So once the content comes in, it just picks up the style. It just inherits the style simply. So it's a display of flex, and flex direction will be column 2. Align items will be center, and our font size, I want it to be a little bit smaller than the previous one because for some kind of differentiation. Line height will be 2 pixel line height. Background color will be white, and padding should be 20 pixel. Yeah, 20 pixel padding. And border radius is like those curvy edges, so have some kind of curve, so it's not like straight something, so have a bit of curve toward this thing, more like for the styling. You have a box shadow. The box shadow is, I love using box shadow because it gives the content some kind of cool feel. I don't know what to call it now, but feel is always cool. So the shadow will be 2 pixel top and bottom, and 3 pixel left and right on the x-axis, and 4 pixel intensity, and the color will be given for our this thing. The color of the shadow will be D0 D2FF. So I think this should be a bit deeper. Yeah, it should be a bit deeper to to differentiate it from the background, because you can see the background of the body is light blue, so we want the shadow to be a bit darker, so it's that differentiation is there, especially considering the fact that the container is sitting on top of the body. So we style our H1. I don't know, this should have come in first. So align self, center, everything is center. I don't know why. And color, give it an RGB of 0 0 0 1 3 7. So the H1 will be more like a dark blue or something. So I'll bring this here. This should be here. Oh yeah, should be there. So let me go live. I'm using Lifesaver extension, so you can see this is what our stuff is looking like right now currently. So let's go to the JavaScript so we can impute the current date and the current time. So index.javascript. So first and foremost, we have to make a new instance of the date method. So by saying const date equals to new date. So with this, we have made we have made available all the provisions and properties that are imputed in the date functions, the date method rather. So we have instantiated it in this new date variable. So once we use the date variable, all the properties that are available in this new date method are now made available also in this date variable. So don't worry, you see that in action to understand it better. So we say let date element equals to document dot get element by class name, and date element. This, the get element. Okay, let me explain this line too. Yeah, we are trying to grab this div here so that we can work with it. So to be able to grab this div here in JavaScript, we have to call it by the class name. That's why we gave it this particular div here, this one here, not this other one, this one. So that's why we gave it a class name. The class name is to identify it. So we remember in our styling in the CSS we called it using the class name. So we're also calling it in our JavaScript file by using the class name. So we are calling it using the .get element by class name, and we are assigning it to this variable called date element. And the reason we are adding this square bracket 0 is because if you call it like this without adding the square bracket 0, you get an array, and I don't want an array. I want the first index of anything in our index.html page that has a class name of date element. So I'm getting the first index. I'm getting that first index. So it's the index 0. So I'm getting it using I'm getting it this way. So I hope you understand that. So now the next thing we do is to bring in this our variable we stored here. You will see why we're bringing it in. So we're going to bring it in here and paste it here. So next thing we have to do is to define our function. This function is where all the whole magic will be happening. Yeah, where the whole magic will be happening here. In this function, it will help us. So when we call this function, this small square rectangle you find here will be populated with the current date and the current time. So let's define the function. So the function is called cons get date. I have a video for function. I have a video that explains function on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen it, please go and check on it. I explain function in detail. So the function is called get date. So we say cons date equals to date dot get date. So cons day, rather it should be day because we can't use so to get the particular day, is it 9th, is it 5th, is it 6th, is it 7th, is it 8th, is it 12th, is it 24? Understand? So we are to get that day, we call it by the get date dot get date method. So to get the month, cons month, if I can spell this, I can't. Cons month equals to date dot get month. This is how to call it. So const here equals to date dot get full year. Now if you notice, when I do date dot, it gives us, we can get the month, we can get the minutes, we can get the milliseconds, get the hours, get the full year, we can even get the time zone offset, UTC, everything. So we can, these are all the methods that are available on this new date constructor. Okay, yeah, constructor. So now we pass all those methods into this date variable. So we can now access it by calling the date. Once we say date dot, it gives us all the methods, all the properties available, all the methods available on the constructor, the new date constructor. I hope you understand that, because let's get the seconds. So date dot get seconds, yeah. So const minute equals to date dot get minutes, const hour to get the current hour equals to date dot get hours. So now we have gotten all our variable. We have gotten the date, we have gotten the format, document format, we have gotten the day, we have gotten the month, we've gotten the year and the second. If I console.log this, you will see it will give us the actual, the actual date, the actual month and the year and all that. But I won't console.log it. I will actually impute it in our HTML document so that we can render it on our page. So let's do that. So I'll now grab hold of this. Now what I'm about to do here is very instructive, so you should pay attention to it. So so I now use this date element. This date element, remember, it's this is this div here. This div here, it's what I'm using now, date element, because I assigned it to this variable date element. I called it by the get element by class name and I assigned it to this variable. I'm now using this variable now, which point to this particular div here, this particular div here. So now dot inner HTML. The inner HTML. Now let me explain what inner HTML does. So now this container here, the inner HTML of this div here, this particular div here, the inner HTML is this h1 and this particular div. Now that's inner HTML, the HTML inside the element you are calling. So the inner HTML of this body tag is this div here, this h1, this div is this div here, and this h1 and this div, and then the inner HTML of the head is this thing you find here. These are the inner HTML of the head. So I'm now calling this div here, and I want to input some HTML into the inner HTML. Some HTML tags into the inner HTML. So I will do that. Date element.inner HTML equals to, I use the backtick. This is not an apostrophe, it is a backtick. So you can find for backtick in your laptop if you're trying to follow my lead. So now we now have a h2. We are writing pure HTML here. So I used to have date under the h2. We have a paragraph, and the paragraph we use this template literal to put in our day. Yeah, this day is a variable, so we'll put in our day, and we have a superscript. Now this superscript is for that th you see on top of the word, that th you see a bit up. So after that, I think I'll give a space, and next thing I'll put is the month. The month. The month is so sorry, I'm supposed to close. Okay, let's put the month. So we have month names. Yeah, why this is not, this should, it's a mistake here, so I'll cut this out, and this is supposed to close here, and okay. Month names, and there's a mistake here, sorry, I'm trying to extract that mistake. So getting the month names, month. So now let me explain what's happening here. So now remember, our month names is January, February. These are month names. Our month names is this array of the names of the month we have in a year. So it's in an array format. So now this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So we are having the months names there. So if the month is 9 or 1 or 2 or 3, the third month of the year is January, February, March. So it goes here and just picks it March. So if it's the 5th month, it goes here and pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is May. So I don't want it to be let's say 19/5. I want it to be 19 May. So instead of putting 5, I want it to pick the 5th item in this array of month names. Understand? So the 5th item is May. Understand? Is this May? We're saying here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this May? So it will pick the May and render it instead of picking just imputing 5th. That's why I didn't just do a month. I'm doing month names in square bracket. I'm putting month. So whatever number it is, it will pick the month that falls in place in line with it in this our month array. I hope you understand that. I really do hope you understood that. So next we have another space, and the next we'll be rendering is $, square bracket, is our year. Yeah, so we're done with that. We have the day 19th, for instance, 19th, and the month February, and the year. You see that, don't worry, see that very soon. H2 is the time, so we want to get the time too. You know what, I'll just copy this. No, let me write it. Let me write it out. It's better that way. So we have our sec, which refers, what's happening? We have a sec, which refers to the seconds. So we'll put a seconds. So it will be like 12 seconds. 12 seconds. Then the next thing we'll have is our minutes. If it's 20 minutes, you write 20 and then minutes. The next one we have here is our hour, which is $, hour. Then we'll have hours, and that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, that's just it. So we have, with this a function now. Once we call this function, these our HTML will be populated with these elements here, which now has the current date and the current time. I'm recording this. So now let's add an event listener. So we have an event listener to the window object. So windows that add event listener. So once our window is loaded, this function get date is called. So once you load our HTML page, once we load it, once everything loads, so it shouldn't be like this again. It should be imputed, as you can see. So the current date now is 24th March 2023, and the time is 22 hours 58 minutes and 2 seconds. So that's basically 10:58. So 10:58 2 seconds. So now I'm awake. I'm awake by 10:58. 10:58. Yeah, that's 10:58 p.m. So if I reload this page now, you see it changes to, it's now 54 seconds. If I refresh this now, it should be 59 minutes 1 second. So this is the date. It goes that way, 7 seconds now. Once I refresh this, it goes. Once I refresh this, it goes. And that's it. Please, this is just what I have to show you guys. So if you haven't, I built a weather app. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, check on my YouTube channel. You'll see my weather app. Kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel, please, and like, share with your friends. I hope you learned something. If you have an issue, drop it in the comment section and I'll help you through it. Thanks.